It will change history. 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 That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for stopping by this evening, or this morning if you're tuning in from Europe. Good morning to Ukraine. For our Ukraine war report for day 141. The date is July 14th. It's now the 15th in Ukraine. So again, good morning to everybody in Ukraine and everybody across the pond in Europe. Again, this is day 141. We're going to be getting you guys all caught up on what's been going on in this ongoing conflict in Ukraine over the past 12 to 24 hours. As usual, we'll start our night off going through the primary headlines, covering those key topics. Then we'll switch over to our community aggregated reporting from our Discord server over at discord.gg/Nemico. And then after that, we will hop into our open source reporting from resources like Live UA Map, amongst other things. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. Share this stream if you haven't. It's the best way to get this information out to more people and inform the masses. And again, it's important that we keep people informed on what's going on in this ongoing conflict, especially for those of you tuning in from countries where they are sending aid into Ukraine. It's important that we keep up pressure on our politicians and our elected officials. Make sure they know that it's important that we are providing this aid to the Ukrainians. Big shout out to Michelle Welch, to Kender, Astrid, Lost B, Doug, Miss Tiger Eye, Katlinberg. Thank you so much, SLAVA Ukraine. Thank you so much for tuning in. To everybody that's supported us this evening so far, thank you guys so much for stopping by and supporting the stream and the reporting that we're doing here. Without further ado, we're going to get right into our primary headlines for this evening. We got a lot of breaking stories that have come out over the past 12 or 24 hours here. Of course, the big hot topics here, still the battles in the east are still raging, and in the south of the country as well. Our breaking story this evening, at least 22 people have lost their lives, including 3 children who were killed and up to 50 others wounded as Russian missiles struck civilian buildings and a culture center in the city of Vinnytsia in central Ukraine on Thursday morning. Again, just to reiterate, 22 human beings lost their lives. These are not military personnel. These are civilians, including 3 children, and up to 50 others were wounded after that Russian missile strike hit those civilian buildings in that central city of Vinnytsia. The victims reportedly include 3 children. Ukraine State Emergency Service say 52 people were injured in the strike and that 46 people are considered missing at this time. As I reported earlier in the week when we had the strikes in Chasiv Yar, the death toll from these type of strikes, especially when you're talking cruise missiles on large residential buildings, it's going to take days for us to get a concrete number on how many people lost their lives and how many people were wounded from these strikes. Because as the hours go by, as we're talking to you right now, they are combing through the rubble at that site, and they are still finding bodies. They are still finding casualties at that site in Vinnytsia. So again, I expect that death toll to rise over the coming hours and days, and we'll be bringing you guys further updates on that as they occur. The attack on Vinnytsia, far from the war's front lines, it is in the center of the country. In fact, we can look right here on our map behind me. This is Vinnytsia here on the map in central Ukraine, very far from the eastern front lines, again in the east of the country. here. So, and I've talked about this many times on the show. There is nowhere in Ukraine right now that is outside of the conflict. Okay, there's nowhere that is safe within Ukraine. Cities as far west as Lviv have been struck by cruise missiles since this war has began. This is not just a war in the east of the country, but this is a war of the entire landmass of Ukraine. The attack on Vinnytsia, again far from the war's front lines, occurred in mid-morning when the streets were full of people. It appeared to have hit a business center, setting cars on fire and sending plumes of thick black smoke over the city. Again, later in the show, we'll most likely have some images and some videos from that strike to show you guys, or at least the aftermath that we can get up on screen here to show you just how destructive these cruise missiles are, especially when they are hitting residential targets. Again, we'll bring you more information on that later in tonight's report. The news of the attack in Vinnytsia emerged as EU foreign and justice ministers were meeting at The Hague for a conference on alleged Russian war crimes. In the opening remarks at that conference, organized by the ICC and European Commission, Ukraine's foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba said Russia should, quote, should be held responsible for its actions in Ukraine. In some remarks from Vladimir Zelensky, he called the Russian attack in Vinnytsia an open act of terrorism. In a video address at the Hague conference, Zelensky said, quote, every day Russia destroys civilian population, kills Ukrainian children, and directs rockets at civilian targets where there is nothing military. What is this if not an open act of terrorism, he asks. It is a killer state, a terrorist state. Again, Zelensky giving those remarks at that conference at The Hague earlier today. Two educational institutions, a transport infrastructure facility, and a hotel have been damaged by Russian missiles in the city of Mykolaiv Thursday morning. So we have two primary cities here in kind of the center of Ukraine, central Ukraine. I would say Mykolaiv is kind of in the south, but also it's pretty far from the eastern front lines. Of course, there is Russian-held territory not too far from Mykolaiv, but nonetheless, residential targets, civilian targets were hit in those areas, including two educational institutions, a transport infrastructure facility, and a hotel that has been damaged by those Russian missile strikes in Mykolaiv Thursday morning. According to Regional Governor Vitaly Kim, Kim says that so far it is known that one person was injured after 9 missiles from the S-300 anti-aircraft missile system were fired at that regional center in that city there. Again, so there's two big breaking stories here. We have Vinnytsia and Mykolaiv, both where residential and civilian targets have been struck within the past 12 to 24 hours. To everybody tuning in this evening, we're just starting out with our primary headlines. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. Best way to get this information out to more people and get the masses informed. Again, big shout out to Kender. Thank you so much for the support there in the chat. And again, we'll continue on here with our primary headlines here as we get everybody caught up on kind of the main stories that have occurred. Unstakeable asks in the chat, did you just say that they fired S-300 anti-air missiles on ground targets? Actually, let me read that there. Again, Kim says that it's so far known that one person was injured. This is directly from that report. 9 missiles from the S-300 anti-aircraft missile system were fired at the regional center. So yes, it does look like they used, from these reports, from what Kim says, they used S-300 anti-aircraft missile systems to fire on these targets. So yeah, definitely an interesting choice there, but I hope to have more information for you guys on that later in the show. Russian forces achieved no significant territorial advances over the last 72 hours in the Donbass. Their territorial gains there have been very slow-moving, and they've almost taken zero territory in the east of the country over about the past 48 to 72 hours. The latest British intelligence report, which I have for you guys later when we get into our community aggregated news, it reads, in the Donbass, Russian forces continue to conduct artillery strikes across a broad front, followed by, in some areas, probing assaults by small company and platoon-sized units. However, they have achieved no significant territorial advances over the last 72 hours and are in danger of losing any momentum built up following the capture of Lysychansk. A top Russian official has said Ukraine must accept the, quote, territorial realities of the situation in order to resume peace negotiations with Moscow. Kiev must provide a clear response to Moscow's proposal that Ukraine accepts non-aligned and non-nuclear status in order to strike a peace deal. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rydienko said, adding that Zelensky must also recognize Russia's control over Crimea and the status of the pro-Russian self-proclaimed People's Republics in Donetsk and Luhansk. Again, Vladimir Zelensky has said many times that he will not accept any territorial losses to the Russian Federation. A deal to resume exporting Ukrainian grain, as we have talked about many times on the show this week, has been announced with the establishment of a coordination and monitoring center in Istanbul. Turkey's defense minister, Hulusi Akar, said Ankara will ensure the safety of shipments in transit, and the parties will jointly check grain cargoes in ports after officials from Ukraine, Russia, United Nations, and Turkey met for talks in Istanbul on Wednesday. UN Chief Antonio Guterres described the talks as, quote, a critical step forward, but said more work was needed before a deal is set to be signed next week. Again, I have a poll going tonight in the YouTube live chat. Our poll tonight says, do you think the global food crisis will get better after the deal announced to resume those exports? Make sure you hop over onto our YouTube live chat to cast your vote in that poll, and then when we get over to our community aggregated reporting, I'll go ahead and we will end that poll and cover the results. A traffic jam, speaking more to this Ukrainian grain export, a traffic jam of more than 130 cargo ships, okay? 130 cargo ships here, loaded with Ukrainian grain, is waiting in the Black Sea to pass to Danube, okay? The ships are waiting to access exit routes through the, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Sulina and Bersti estuary canals to reach a series of ports and terminals in Romania from where the grain can be transported around the world. I believe they'll be looking to load some of that on rail cars, and then some of it possibly will get shipped out on further further shipments on those cargo ships that we spoke about a few moments ago. Britain will provide a further $2.5 million support package to Ukrainian prosecutors investigating alleged war crimes committed by Russian forces, the Foreign Office has announced Thursday. The package will include the deployment of mobile justice teams to the scene of potential war crimes, the training up to 90 judges, and forensic evidence gathering and support from British experts in sexual violence in the conflict so far. Maria Zakharova, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson, has given a press briefing saying NATO was waging, quote, hybrid warfare, that's directly from that report there, on Russia by providing arms to Ukraine. Zakharova also criticized Britain's decision to bring Ukrainian service personnel to the UK for weapons training. Russia in recent weeks has used the words proxy war. They're basically calling what the U.S. is how they are performing within Ukraine. Just in the capacity that they are providing intel to the Ukrainians, providing weapons. They're calling it a proxy war within nature. And now in this press release, again coming from the Foreign Ministry spokesperson, they're calling it hybrid warfare. Again, talking about how they're providing arms and intelligence to the Ukrainians. Kind of an update here on Lithuania and the Kaliningrad situation. Lithuania has said it will keep restrictions on Kaliningrad trade in place while it works out rules on how to resume the trade. The European Union executive said Wednesday that sanctioned Russian goods could transit through the bloc's territory by rail after tensions between Moscow and EU member Lithuania escalated over trade with Russia's Kaliningrad exclave. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said representatives of President Vladimir Putin had no place at a meeting of the group of 20 major economies, warning that the war in Ukraine was causing a negative spillover around the world. Russian and proxy forces have reportedly entered the town of Siversk in Ukraine's Donetsk region, according to Russian media reports. State news agency TASS quoted Vitaly Kiselyov, an official from the self-appointed Luhansk People's Republic, also known as the LPR, as saying the town could fall within a couple of days, but it was not clear what that claim was based on. Again, as I reported in earlier reports this week, it does look like they will be moving on those towns, those smaller towns there in the east of the country over the coming week, and so we hope to have more information on that Russian advance in those areas. Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, has ruled out ceding territory to Russia as part of any ceasefire deal. In a briefing, Kuleba said no peace talks were underway between Moscow and Kiev because of Russia's position and its continued aggression against our country. That's the direct quote there from Kuleba. The death toll from Saturday's Russian missile strike on the town of Chasiv Yar has climbed to 48. According to the Ukrainian Emergency Services, debris clearance continues after the Russian attack on the city of Chasiv Yar. As of this time, the list of the dead includes 48 people, including one child, Zelensky said in his latest evening address. In last night's report, I mentioned that the death toll was still climbing and that it would continue to climb. It was 47 in last night's report and now has climbed to 48. As I've said many times, when these strikes occur, especially on these residential targets, it sometimes takes days, if not weeks, for us to get a concrete report on how many people died, how many casualties, how many wounded. Russia has forcibly removed nearly 2 million people from Ukraine, including several 100,000 children, since its invasion of the country. Zelensky said tens of thousands of Ukrainians are being held in filtration camps in the temporarily Russian-occupied territories. Zelensky said in a video address to the Asian Leadership Conference in Seoul on Wednesday. The U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, called for an immediate halt to Russian deportations of those Ukrainian citizens. Blinken accused Russia of deliberately separating Ukrainian children from their parents and abducting others from orphanages before putting them up for adoption inside of Russia. A third American national is being held captive by pro-Russian separatists, as we reported on yesterday, in Ukraine, according to new reports. Suidi Murzireki, 35, was arrested last month in Kherson, a Russian-occupied port city in southern Ukraine, where he had been living for more than 2 years. His brother Seli Murzireki has said in a press release. That about concludes our primary headlines for this evening. Our primary topics. We're now going to switch over to our community aggregated news over on our Situation Room in our Discord server. But first, before we get into that, we are going to end off tonight's community poll. I'll give us another few seconds if you guys haven't already. Really quickly, go over there, cast your vote in the live chat poll on the YouTube live chat, and in about, I would say about 10-15 seconds here, I'm going to go ahead and end that poll off, and we'll talk a little bit about our poll results. Tonight's poll question, again, is do you think the global food crisis will get better after the deal announced to resume exports? Again, I think it's going to take some time, as some of you have mentioned in the chat, actually. It's going to take some time for the effects to be felt on this deal to go, for this deal to go through, and for the effects to be felt. It might take weeks, if not months, to reflect back on our food prices, especially here in the West. I think it'll have the biggest impact, the quickest impact, in places that need this food the most, places like the Middle East and in some African countries that heavily depended on those Ukrainian grain exports. I'm going to go ahead and cap off our poll right now at 76 votes this evening. Go ahead and get that ended off right here for you. I'm also going to take and post that in the Situation Room on the Discord server for anybody that wants to take a look at the poll results. So our results come in tonight, again, after 76 votes. No, 60% of you said no, it will not get better. The global food crisis will not get better after this deal was announced, and 39% of you said that yes, it will get better. So again, an overwhelming majority think that this will have a very little effect. As I have actually mentioned a few times on the show, I think this is more a diplomatic move for Russia, and I don't think they're actually going to make any serious changes down the road here, as them holding this grain hostage has been a very valuable weapon for the Russians when getting political concessions out of the West. So I think it's going to continue to be a problem with this global food crisis, with this Ukrainian grain exports. Not just grain, but we have sunflowers, we have all sunflower seeds, all sorts of different food products that are stuck in those Ukrainian ports at this time. Our first post this evening, and we'll hop over onto our big screen here so that we can really see what is going on. Give me 1 second here to get everything situated. Okay, so our first post tonight comes from Tiger Eye 912, longtime contributor. Thank you so much, Tiger Eye, for sending this over. This comes from Flash on Twitter, an unverified Twitter source, so keep that in mind. However, it does show some videos that I've seen a few times today of it's video from the Vinistia shops in the area where that Russian missile hit. Okay, and so I'm going to make sure to get our desktop audio up on screen here. And we'll mute our audio we got coming in from Kharkiv at this time. Okay, so our first video here, again, shows a video from the shops in the area where these missiles struck. You can see it blew out the window panes completely there. Not just the glass here, but if you notice, I believe I just saw the frames themselves of the windows get blown out as well as the glass here. Let's take a look. So you can see there the frame on that window completely blown out from the shockwave from those cruise missile impacts. We'll take a look at the full video here, and I'll stop talking. So that looks like 2, if not 3, cruise missile impacts on that site. I saw 3 different shockwaves. I could be mistaken. Thankfully, both of those people within that shop look to have survived. The clerk here getting under the desk here. You can see absolutely destroyed that shop, though, and they weren't even... they weren't, right there at the strike of the missile. This was probably, I would say, maybe a half block away from the strike of those cruise missiles. You could see that, and I'm just, again, guessing here as to how far away from the blast. I would guess this is probably in the order of a half block away, maybe a quarter block away from the blasts themselves. But you could see the shockwave was enough to blow out those window panes. Not just the glass, but the frames themselves. We have another video here, the moment of that missile attack on Vinistia. Let's get this login prompt out of the way for you so we can see this here. So you can see there the shockwave and debris flying around. Hold on, let's go back here. We'll try to break this down. So you can see the first shockwave come through there. You can see the bushes kind of shake there from the shockwave, knocking that young lady off of her bike as well. If you notice here, actually, you can see this man duck on his bike here. That's probably because he heard the missile fly over. If not, he heard the first impact. I believe it was either 2 or 3 cruise missiles that struck here in Vinistia, if I'm not mistaken. You can see the people running for cover there, covering from the debris there. You can see the black smoke cloud immediately rise up into the sky as soon as those strikes hit that building. Thank you, Tiger Eye, for posting this in the Situation Room. Again, a very good example of just some of the destruction there that we saw today in Vinistia when those cruise missiles struck. Our next post here comes from Kayuka, longtime power poster. Thank you, Kayuka, for sending this over. This talks about Ukraine reportedly received the Swedish Archer truck-mounted howitzer systems. Archer is the best truck-mounted howitzer in the world. Only 48 exist. It carries 21 rounds, which can be fired in less than 3 minutes to a range of 30 to 60 kilometers without a soldier leaving the vehicle. So it's good to see. And again, that comes from Ukraine Battle Map on Twitter there. It's good to see Ukraine getting more of that lethal aid, more of those weapon systems sent into country. Our next post here, again, comes from Kayuka from Flash. It talks about Ukrainian military continues active preparations for deoccupation of territories occupied by Russian troops, says the Deputy Chief of the Main Operators Department of the General Staff of the Ukraine Armed Forces. Oleksiy Hramov, I believe is how you pronounce his name there. Our next post again comes from Kayuka. Again, take these with a grain of salt, guys, as they are coming from unverified Twitter sources, so I do like to make that known. For a week here, it says Ukraine has not lost any single meter of land, says the Deputy Chief of the Main Operational Directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksiy Haramov. Again, we do know as a fact that the Russian territory gains over the past 7 days or so have been very slim, if not non-existent. Our next post here comes from Unstinkable, again, longtime power poster. Talks here, again, this comes from Jay in Kiev, a unverified Twitter source. So, again, take everything that is unverified on Twitter with a grain of salt, even though we do know some of it to be true. But every time I do see an unverified Twitter account, we do like to make that known to you guys that it is unverified. Russian Defense Ministry starts prosecuting the manufacturer of Russia's S-300 and S-400 missile system after they've proven 100% ineffective at intercepting NATO weapons. According to Censor.net, he stated this in Facebook. Gerashenko noted that Russian Defense Ministry has started a showdown with the management of Almaz Anti concern the manufacture of the lauded S-300 and S-400 air defense systems. Unstinkable comes at us with our next few posts here. This talks about, I believe, some more HIMARS o'clock strikes, as we've been calling them the past week or two here. Again, this talks about explosions near Kherson. I believe this is near... actually, so that's a separate one here. So this comes from... Quinn VY actually just reports in the live chat with that super chat saying, I have a video with an alternate angle from the shop. Quinn, if you want to send that over to me on Discord, I can get that up on screen here. Or if you want to post that in the Situation Room real quick, I can get that up on screen here. We could take a look at that. But again, thank you, Quinn, for the support there in the chat. Again, this is a video showing explosions near Kherson. Explosions near Kherson, near the city there of Kherson, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. You can hear what sounds like some of the blasts, but we're not seeing too much in the way of on-screen evidence of those blasts. But I do hear the sound coming from that possible shelling, possible missile strike there. We have another video, explosion reported at a Russian base in Sernurhurvika of Mykolaiv region. It says an explosion at a Russian base there, and we'll take a look at that now. It's actually not a video, this is just a picture here coming, and we'll take a look at the source here as well. It comes from Telegram. Again, this is a picture, again, of an explosion that reportedly happened near the Mykolaiv region at a Russian base there. Looks like Quinn is actually posting that in the Situation Room right now, so I'll take a look. Actually, Quinn, I need the link to that. I actually can't. I can't bring that up on screen in its current form. You'd have to send me a link to where you found it. But that does look to be an alternate angle from that shop, so we could take a look at that. If you can get it to me in a, I need a link. I need a link. So like from Twitter, Telegram. Whatever you can send over. The raw MP4 I'm not able to bring up in my current format how I'm running right now. But if you could post that in a link, I'll get that up on screen. It does look to be like a alternate view from that shop from earlier today. In fact, yeah, 100% that is a alternate view there. Rat Lady actually just reported in here, says, from another feed but shared with permission, incredible footage from a blast on the Kramatorsk cam that we've watched for months. It usually is quiet. I believe I showed this blast last night. I actually showed this blast on last night's stream. A video of it, but you can see that blast on our Kramatorsk cam, which I still have on our 24/7 cam stream, so make sure to tune that in. In fact, that's probably one of the closest blasts we have seen to one of our live cameras since this war has began. Again, I did show this on last night's report, but again, thank you, Rat Lady, for sending that over. It's an incredible clip there. Trying to get caught back up where I was in our chat here. Our next post here comes from Kayuka from Nexus Intel 1 on Twitter. Again, it is unverified. My source in the Swedish military claims Ukrainian soldiers are training at P4 on the Swedish Archer system, and rumor in Sweden with the military is that 4 units are delivered currently. This is chatter within the ranks, it says. So again, this is more information here talking about that Archer artillery system that is being sent over from Sweden to be used in Ukraine. Again, thank you to Kayuka for sending that over. Our next post, again coming from Kayuka, our longtime power poster, comes from Euromaidan Press here. Talks about liberation of Crimea, Kherson, and occupied southern Ukraine is inevitable, says the Major General Dmytro Marchenko. He also noted that destruction of the Crimean bridge would be a crucial tactical step as Russia used the bridge to replenish its supplies. Again, if they could pull off the destruction of the Crimean bridge there over the Crimean Strait, that would be a huge tactical victory for a strategic victory for the Ukrainian forces. In recent weeks, I've heard reports that the Russians are very heavily protecting that bridge, and that they have barges set up alongside the bridge with very large radar reflectors in order to basically create a very large radar signature, maybe to possibly draw missiles to the barges instead of the bridge. I'm not really sure as to why they would be doing that. There's been a lot of speculation as to why they have placed those barges there. Again, they are taking steps to protect that bridge, though, in Crimea. As Mother Saki says, those archers are bad-ass. Indeed, they are. Probably one of the most advanced artillery systems that are being sent over into Ukraine so far. I'd like to hear more information on that as the weeks go by here. I'd like to see more of those systems heading into Ukraine. Tiger Eye 912 coming at us with our next post here. This comes from YouTube. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this shows video from one of those strikes that occurred earlier today. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the strike from Vinistia. However, I'm going to get a translation here of this title, just so I can make sure that we are showing you guys the right clip. So, the title says here, shelling of Vinistia, 21 people died. We know now that has increased, including 3 children, of course, that has increased. So, again, this is footage of the aftermath from earlier today after those strikes hit in central Ukraine in Vinistia. You can see emergency workers here scrambling to render aid. You can see the ground littered with debris from that cruise missile impact. Again, it's speculated that this is the building here. You guys see this building? I believe this is some kind of like it's not a direct government or military building, but it is like a government-owned building. I think it's like a. I forgot exactly what the building is for. I think it's either like an opera theater or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I do know it's a government-owned building, and some speculate that that's what they were aiming for, but that the cruise missiles instead impacted a residential building next door. Of course, that doesn't give the Russians any justice. But, again, it just goes to show here how inaccurate some of these Russian weapon systems have been. It's a theater, says Mother Saki. Yeah, I also heard that there was like an opera theater of some kind. Mother Saki says they had a concert planned for tonight at that theater. So our next post here comes from Kayuka. This comes from news.liga.net. It is in Ukrainian. And we were able to translate it here, thankfully. It says here, if the hostilities are stopped now without the withdrawal of the Russian troops from the territory of Ukraine, it will only give the dictator of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, the necessary rest for his army, and such a ceasefire will end with the continuation of the invasion with new forces. The head of the Bundestag Committee on International Affairs, Michael Roth, told the German resource NTV.de about this today. As the politician put it, Putin managed to deceive people, making them believe that he is seriously interested in negotiations, although, in fact, Russia wants to destroy Ukraine, and there is no doubt about that. A ceasefire without the withdrawal of troops would only give Putin a welcome respite in order to transfer more soldiers and military equipment to the front line. Again, the SPD MP emphasized, adding that this increases the risks for Russia's other neighbors as well. Again, thank you to Kayuka for sending that over. This next post comes from Flash, again, unverified, coming from Kayuka. It says, tonight the armed forces of Ukraine is going to make Russians accountable for Vinnytsia, Mykolaiv, and Kharkiv. Again, we will hopefully have some information kind of expanding on this for tomorrow's report. I hope to hear that. Here's actually some interesting footage. I just caught my eye. Again, unverified, but it says reportedly burning wheat fields near Zaporizhia. I'd like to check our NASA firms map to take a look at this. In fact, we could do that right now. I believe that's a good idea. Let's go ahead. We're going to hop over onto our NASA firms map here. Let me bring that up from our open source intelligence tools. So give me one moment to get my NASA firms map up on screen here. Here we go. Here's our NASA firms map, and we're going to scroll into the area around Zaporizhia here, where these fires are reportedly taking place. I do see some fires occurring in the Zaporizhia region. Could it be perhaps that some of these fires are from these wheat fields? So let's look here. So again, so Zaporizhia is east of the Crimean Peninsula, northeast. And we have seen a lot of shelling occur over the past 24 hours in that area. A lot of strikes have occurred in that area. We'll go ahead here and get scrolled over on our map to the right area. It could be these fires we are seeing here. Possibly. I do see quite a few fires recorded here. However, this does look to be an industrial area and not wheat fields. However, I did see some farmland down here, and possibly this could be our area here that we're seeing on the map, where these fires are burning in Zaporizhia Oblast. Very possible. We see some other fires happening here. These could definitely be it here, possibly. Fires burning in some of these fields. If one of my geolocators wants to get to work on that, I'd love to get some more information up for you guys. But again, this shows, again, what is allegedly... Mute our music there. Allegedly, wheat fields burning in the Zaporizhia region. This wouldn't be the first time we've heard of that occurring, so I wouldn't put it past him. Rat Lady actually comes through with an interesting post here that totals up the combat losses of Russian forces since the beginning of the war in Ukraine. Let's take a look at this real quick. This comes from -rus.com. It says about 152,000 personnel have had casualties. So that when you break that down, that's not deaths. So killed would be around 37,870. 113,610 wounded, and about 1,000, give or take, prisoners of war. This is a very interesting resource here. Again, it talks about tank losses here, about 1,667 tank losses. Armored combat vehicles, about 3,852. Artillery, 840. Aircrafts, 219, helicopters 188, ships and boats about 15. I'd like to take these results and compare them to our results from the Kiev Independent. Possibly I'll do that with tomorrow's report. We'll take a look at further expand on some of these Russian troop losses. Our next post here comes from Kayuka with our British Defense Intelligence update for the 14th of July. So let's take a look at what the British Defense Ministry has to say. In the Donbass, Russian forces continue to conduct artillery strikes across a broad front, followed by, in some areas, probing assaults by small company and platoon-sized units. However, they have achieved no significant territorial advances over the past 72 hours and are in danger of losing any momentum built up following the capture of Lysychansk. The aging vehicles, weapons, and Soviet-era tactics used by Russian forces do not lend themselves to quickly regaining or building momentum unless used in overwhelming mass, which Russia is currently unable to bring to bear. Despite the 13th of July 2022 talks between delegations from Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, and the UN on grain exports and recent successfully negotiated prisoner exchanges, the prospects for wider talks to end the conflict remain low. Again, that is our intelligence update from the Ministry of Defense of the UK. That about caps off our community aggregated reports for this evening. If you'd like to take a look at all those reports, as we don't always have time to go through all of them, you can head over to our Discord server at discord.gg/Nemico, and you can hop into the Situation Room channel, where those posts are almost released on an hourly basis. Probably one of the best resources for getting up-to-date news and reports on what is going on in the situation on the ground in Ukraine. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to our open source reporting here from our live UA map. We're going to scroll down to about the past 12 hours, and we're going to get everybody caught up on the individual events that have been happening over the past about 12 hours. We'll actually start here at 14 hours with the death toll of that missile strike in Vinnytsia, which at that time had increased to 17, including 2 children. We now know that is much higher. Our next post here, 13 hours ago, talks about 1 person killed, another wounded as a result of Russian shelling in Mykolaiv this morning. There's actually a source image here that we could see of just the size of some of those impact craters. So you can see one of those emergency service personnel standing in one of those craters there. Some damage to buildings that occurred there as well in Mykolaiv. 12 hours ago here, Metro Depot was destroyed as a result of overnight missile strike in Kharkiv. So those are the big 3 strikes that have occurred over the past 12 hours. You have Vinnytsia, you have Mykolaiv, and you have Kharkiv. Now, that doesn't exclude, there's many other places in the country where strikes have occurred, where bombardment has occurred over the past 12 to 24 hours, but the big 3 that made headlines over the past 12 were, again, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, and Vinnytsia. 11 hours ago, 2 killed, 2 unfortunately lost their lives, 3 were wounded as a result of shelling at Odessa bus station. I believe we have a video here. Can show some damage to a bus there. However, pretty hard to confirm or corroborate that evidence. However, it does look like they have geolocated those strikes. Again, confirmed that 2 have been killed, 3 wounded as a result of that shelling at the Donetsk bus station. 11 hours ago, shelling occurred in Kramatorsk, as you see here on the map. 9 hours ago, a fire at a satellite plant in Mariupol was reported as well. We have a video here from Twitter that we can show. I'm actually going to take this and just verify that it doesn't have any gruesome content in it, so we can abide by Twitch and YouTube's terms of service. Okay, that video is cleared to show you guys. All right, so it does look like here, and we'll head back over here. There we go. So it does look like you're seeing here plumes of smoke rising over that satellite factory in Mariupol. Keeps wanting to open it up there. Here we go. Refresh there. You can see the smoke plumes rising from that factory there. 9 hours ago, shelling near Bashatanka. You can see here another video we have on screen here for you guys. See, a grass fire has started because of that. Because of that shelling. So that puts, again, that with the fires in those wheat fields I was just talking about that we showed on screen, not far from the realm of possibility here, okay? There are a lot of dry, very dry areas in Ukraine right now, and yeah, I don't put it past it for that video that we saw those wheat fields burning to be true. Next here, we have 4 hours ago, explosions near Kherson, which we talked about earlier. You can actually see, again, this is that video I showed earlier. It doesn't actually show the strikes, but you can hear the blasts off in the distance. Hear them there on screen. 4 hours ago here, a projectile reportedly hit a library in Graviroran of the Belgorod region. So again, that is over the Ukrainian border onto Russian territory. Again, reportedly hit that library there. Go and take a look at our source here. Coming from Telegram, shows a picture and not very much detail. It looks to be possibly an impact on top of a roof there. Again, we'll have to wait to see if we can get some more information on that strike in Belgorod. 4 hours ago, explosions reported again in Mykolaiv. You can see there on screen where those are located. 4 hours ago, Russian troops shelled the outskirts of Nikopol. Over the past, I would say, few weeks here, there's been a lot of shelling from across the water here onto Nikopol. And then 4 hours ago here, capping off our open source reports, it says explosions reported at a Russian base in Synerohrivka of Mykolaiv region, which I actually showed you in our community aggregated reports a short while ago. You can see on screen not only where that strike is located, but you can see a picture here of what appears to be a fire and smoke rising from the area of those strikes. Again, that about concludes our open source reporting for this evening. We're now going to switch over to a quick Q&A from our live chat. If you guys haven't already, please hit that like button. Best way to get this information out there, get the algorithm's attention. Share this stream if you like it. And then right after you're done doing that, sound off in the chat what food and gas prices are looking like in your area, if fuel is still trending downward where you're tuning in from this evening. And we'll go ahead and we'll read some of those off. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Best way to get notified when new videos and streams go live. But more importantly, if you haven't, next to the subscribe button, there's a little notification bell. Make sure to hit that notification bell and then go ahead and click the all button. Otherwise, you will not get any of our notifications. For those of you that hit that all button and are supposed to be getting notifications, I actually was in contact with YouTube yesterday, and they have told me that if any of you are having that issue, if you have hit that all button and you are not getting notified when our new videos or streams go live, at the bottom of the page there's a submit feedback button. You can file a feedback report. Make sure to include in the report that you are not getting notified when our videos at Nemico Network are going live, and YouTube is going to look into that. Again, they mentioned to me that there's been some bugs in their notification system and just how the algorithm is handing and shelling out notifications. If you have selected that all button, you should be getting notifications when they go live. If not, make sure you submit a feedback report down below. To start off our Q&A this evening, Quinn, thank you so much, Quinn, again for asking. He says, hey, Nemico, is there somewhere I could send you this video without using my Twitter? You could, if you wanted to upload it to YouTube, send it over that way. You could try to find the video. I mean, of course, find where the source was posted. So find where that angle you have, Quinn. Find the original Twitter account that posted that, or the original Telegram that posted that, and then send that link over to me or post it in the Situation Room. That's the best way to get that video over to me as quickly as possible, and I can maybe show that on screen if we can get that over to us before the end of tonight's report. If not, if you get it over to me, I can try to show it on tomorrow's report. Michelle Welch, thank you so much for tuning in from Missouri tonight. Says gas went down to about 4.46. I believe, if I can find it here. Actually, I'm going to add this to our open source intelligence tools as well. For those that had wanted it. 1 second here. Okay, so that's not the right one. Trying to find our what was the URL for that again? One second. Okay, here we go. So here we have, and I'm going to add this to our open source intelligence tools in case anybody wants to use this resource here. This is gasprices.aaa.com. It says our national average has gone down again. It was like at $5 national average, and now has gone down to $4.60. So that's about a 40-cent drop in fuel prices. Again, I've talked about this a few times. I believe we're kind of in an adjustment period again, where those fuel prices are going down. I do expect them to go up, though, in the coming weeks and months. That's just a kind of speculation on my part. I hope they continue to trend downward, but I'm not getting my hopes up because I think that, again, as this war continues, as the alienation of Russian fuel continues, of Russian energy continues, we probably will see those prices continue to go up a little bit. However, I'm hoping that we can look to diversify our fuel and our energy and hopefully drive those prices down more. It says here in the news, actually, that a drop in gas demand pushes pump prices lower. I expect demand to go up later in the year, maybe August, late August, again, as the tourist season is in its height in late summer. It could also go up towards the holiday season as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Gatlinburg says Laguna Niguel, California, about $5.89 for regular. Food prices drifting upwards. Yes, I've noticed as well. Food prices in our area have continued to drift upwards over the past few weeks. Quinn says, let me get YouTube up. All right, on Quinn. Thank you so much. And I'll Telegram. I found it. It was on private. Okay. Yeah, if you could send that over to me, I can get that hopefully on screen for us here. Mother Saki says, Surprise Arizona at Costco, about $4.55 retail, has broken the $5 mark and is $4.99 today. So that's good that you guys are trending back down. Mythical says 18-count eggs were $4.57 today. Gas was $4.09 today, where he's tuning in from. Well, thank you, Mythical, for reporting in there. That is pretty high for egg prices, if I'm not mistaken. Lost B83 says $5 a gallon, non-ethanol, Central Florida. That's pretty high still in Florida. Your national average in Florida is about $4.33. Compared to California, $5.99. My God. I can't even imagine. That's absolutely horrible. So that means in some areas you guys have well over $6 prices per gallon. That's absolutely unsustainable. Quinn says, I think he posted it in. Oh, here we go. So here is that other angle that Quinn sent over from that shop strike in Vinistia. Thank you, Quinn VY, for sending this over to us. Highly appreciated. You can see here again. This is an alternate angle of that strike at this shop here in Vinistia. You can see it knocked the security cam right off the wall as that strike occurred. Again, we watched this earlier. A blue. In fact, you could see the door open from the back pressure here. Look, you can see the door literally swing open from that strike there. There was another person in the back of the cafe. We hope that everybody in that building got out okay. It does look like the shop clerk survived. Again, thank you to Quinn for sending that over. Huge help there. Doom Pie says in the Netherlands, 908 a gallon, as much as yesterday. Oof, that is pretty high there in the Netherlands. Doom Pie, I'm not sure if you sent over tonight's weather report. I think I might have missed it in the live chat, but nonetheless, thank you so much, man, for doing you. Miss Tiger 912 says it's likely $1 higher in New Orleans. Says Nemico or at Nemico Network. We can go ahead here and. So again, all these southern states are trending pretty low, as has been the trend here. Texas has been low the whole time. Louisiana, as you see here, all the dark blue states in the south are doing pretty well. Some counties in Florida have had higher prices. Even at some points trending upwards to the $5 mark, but it doesn't look too bad. Louisiana, some of the southern areas in Louisiana a little higher as well, but again, not too bad as well. I think where they have the worst off is the West Coast. Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, they definitely have probably the worst off. Illinois, I think it's just because of how populated Illinois is. Again, the Chicago area, extremely high as well, upwards of $5.50 in some places for fuel. Smuggies says gas is around $4.64, and organic eggs cost me $5.99, probably per dozen. I would take it. Michelle Welch was $3.77 to hear Tiger. Okay, so I think talk about fuel prices again there. Wayne Irwin says under $4 here in Georgia in some places. Yeah, so that correlates with what we see here on our map. The South is definitely probably the best place to be for fuel prices at this time. Katlenberg says $6.29 here for super here, so that's for premium fuel, I believe. As Utkin Atsila says, very, very valuable point here. There is momentum in transport and trade. The effects of the Ukraine war are going to hit. Getting things together may only soften the blow. Yeah, so again, it takes time. It will take time for again, this food crisis and this fuel crisis to reach its maximum, its climax here. Astrid Senders says, I'm so happy that I don't own a car anymore. Food prices going up in the Netherlands, as in many other places. Astrid, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Miss Tiger 912 says at Nemico Network, $3.77 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that's pretty. That's not bad. Likely $1 higher in New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay. Yeah, probably just because it's a more populated area, I would imagine, right? Doompie says, new weather report for the next hour incoming. Roger that. I'll keep an eye out for that here. Katie Horton says, Nemico, yes, it's bad here in Oregon. Yeah, as you can see here on the map, you guys have it pretty bad off there, especially in some of these areas near California. I mean, $5.50, that's $5.60, $5.80 a gallon. That's absolutely insanity. $5.66, $5.48. I pray that this doesn't become the new norm. Epimoo, thank you so much for stopping by tonight and joining us in the live chats. As always, it's awesome to have our Scotsman tuning in this evening. Mother Saki says, I'm celebrating $4.99 prices. Yeah, I would after being well above the $5 mark. Tony Stark says about $4.39 Homestead, Florida, so that's not too bad. Looks like those prices have come down a little bit there in Florida. Quinn, thank you so much, Quinn, for sounding off here. Says, oh yeah, here in Moncks Corner where I live, it's as high as $4.16 and as low as $3.96. So that's, I mean, it doesn't sound too bad. $4 on the high end. Of course, we wouldn't like to see that. We all would like to see the prices go back down to $3, and even some areas, just over the $2 mark, where I believe it was just a year ago. Mother Saki sent over just, I don't think it's directly Ukraine related, but it's something interesting that she wanted us to show on the stream, so I'll show it here tonight. It's actually a urban warfare historical photo of the day from Jason Giroux on Twitter here. It says, soldiers from the 3rd Canadian Infantry Division, Rue Saint-Pierre, in Normandy, France on August 1944. Just look at the amount of destruction to some of these buildings here. Again, this is in Normandy, France, August 1944. Thank you, Rat Lady, for sharing this in the Discord server. Again, this isn't something that would usually go into the Situation Room, but again, I like seeing historical photos like this and kind of showing the correlations between the war we're seeing now be taken out in Ukraine and similarities to past wars. Especially World War II, because World War II is basically the last time we had a massive conflict like this in Europe. Doompie, thank you so much for coming in clutch with our weather forecast this evening for Kiev, capital city of Ukraine. 0500, 14 degrees centigrade. Mostly cloudy, northwest winds, 12 kilometers an hour. Sunrise, 5:01, sunset, 21:06. As usual, Doompie, thank you so much for sounding off in our Twitch live chat with that weather forecast. It's a huge help, and I think that's a nice little addition to our nightly Ukraine war reports. That about sounds off tonight's, or caps off, I should say, tonight's Q&A in our live chat here, and about caps off tonight's report. But I thank every single one of you guys for taking the time out of your day to come and get updated here with us on what's going on in this ongoing conflict. And we'll be back here again tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we are every weekday. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's about 3 a.m. Ukraine time, if I'm not mistaken. I think daylight savings time might have gone through, so it might be 2 a.m. Ukraine time if I'm not sure. Either 2, 3, or 4. You can keep an eye out on our community page over on the YouTube channel. That's the best place to find out when we're going to be live, or better yet, in our announcement channel over on the Discord server. That's discord.gg/Nemico. If you're looking for any of the links or any of our sources or anything like that, you can find it in the description below this stream, below this video, depending on how you're watching it. If you can't find it there, you can find it over on the Discord server. Again, everybody's welcome to join. There's an invite link to that in the description below. That's discord.gg/Nemico. After this report is done live, we upload them to the YouTube channel as a video, so if you missed the full thing and you want to go back and watch it, you can find it over there on the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Nemico Network. We've released our reports for the past few days, from Monday's report, Tuesday's report, and Wednesday's report. That's day 138, 139, and 140. They are now live over on the YouTube channel. So if you want to get caught up on what's been going on over the past week or so, best place to do that is to go and watch those videos over there on the YouTube channel. A lot of new content coming at you guys in the coming days and weeks here, and I look forward to bringing you guys some new stuff. And until next time, guys, I think that about sums it up. Until next time, guys, you are watching Nemico Network.
Something that will change our daily lives. That will change history. 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 That will be the most beautiful day.
Let me